Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we're discussing my thoughts on episode 4 of the anime series Noragami Aragoto, and all hell is breaking loose. Yato is very much left with sort of the specious conclusion after the end of the last episode, finding Hiyori's unconscious body and no spirit form, in that area, Kazuma being completely gone and everything, Kuga and all that stuff. After coming under the attack of Aiha, that Bishamon must be solely responsible for the kidnapping of Hiyori and everything that has thus unfolded, probably to do with the bad blood between them, going back centuries and everything. We see him, the expression on his face as he leaves her hospital room after, Hiyori's body has been taken to the hospital. Her family is there. They're very much concerned. They're going to have to put her on oxygen because she's unconscious and they have no idea what's going on. Yato just wants to kick ass. He's like, that's it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. He goes and he collects Yukine, and it was really telling how concerned these fellow gods are, Kafuku and Daikoku. Kafuku being willing, because she is sort of known for losing all this money, this goddess of poverty and all that. She's trying to put a bet on Bishamon, hoping that it'll cause Bishamon to lose, because they know she is so uber powerful. Even Kugaha has to be taken aback in this episode by the sheer power Bishamon wields, even in such a weakened state. She's going to wipe the floor with Yato if he's not careful. He goes effectively to Tenjin, and Tenjin's even reluctant to send him to Bishamon's realm with Yukine, knowing what's going to unfold. But there's some unspoken sort of agreement between them, and I have to wonder if it's along the lines of, if he and Yukine succeed and they return, it's probably turn Yukine over to Tenjin as one of his regalia, as we've seen has happened previously with Mayu, I think it is. But effectively, what I loved about this episode, as this battle between them, they do effectively go head to head, but we're finding out all of this backstory, what it is that caused such bloodthirstiness on Bishamon's side, against Yato, going all the way back to their past. What it was in their history is explored and explained through the dialogue of, Kazuma to Hiyori, who also warns her, if you stay in the spirit form long enough, your body will probably die. You're going to be this permanently, just the spirit form permanently. And I'm wondering what's going to happen with that. I'm sure we've heard that before, like going back to season 1, but I'm wondering, especially after how this episode concludes, if maybe she could become a future regalia or something along those lines. Not being familiar with the source material, I have no idea. But as I say, amidst sort of this discussion, are we finding out that it's very much answering the speculations a lot of people have had, that chances are, Bishamon herself was blighted so many hundreds of years ago and was put in danger by her regalia. We're finding out about the, why Kazuma has a name that ends in Ma, and why all of the sort of modern, regalia cast are like Kugaha, Suzuha, why it's a Ha. This is another question asked by Hiyori. And we're finding out it's something to do with the familial name, the name of the particular cast. And going back these hundreds of years ago, they were all the Ma family and everything under Bishamon. And there was some sort of civil unrest that seemed to almost teeter-totter on the addition of Kazuma to that regalia faction at the time. I guess who probably was the exemplar at the time, this old lady. They see that Bishamon is under this severe blighting. It's eating her away. And she kind of pulls a Kazuma like he did just episodes back now in the modern sort of aesthetic. She's like, ready to throw down. Who is causing this blighting? We're going to pick through everybody. We're going to find it. And they never do. It's never quite fully explained, and I'm wondering if there's more to it. What was, the sort of impetus for setting this blighting on, Bishamon so far in her past. But, you see Kazuma is the only one really willing, being the new blood, being somebody who Bishamon is the voice of reason, toward, as far as everyone else is getting opinionated against him. Why is he a nail in her ear? How does he have the right to impale our goddess's body, our master's body, and all this kind of stuff? And he can't even learn to create the barriers, and they're just very testy with him. They are very sort of, demeaning toward him and all this kind of stuff. And maybe that is what was causing the civil unrest. Like, here's this new regalia who just is fresh off the street, and Bishamon's kind of putting him up on a pedestal, with all these other people who have been around for so long. Whatever the case, they all start to, there are suspicions brewing between them all, and it's just eating them away. They go on the attack, and Kazuma, being pure-blooded, being so faithful for Bishamon, he's heard whispers of this god of calamity who, again, another fascinating sort of facet of this is that this exemplar of that era, this older lady sort of regalia, is talking about how the god of calamity, Yato, is being led by Nora. That to me is interesting. Like, it might go many lengths to explain how he was able to survive so long being thought of, being remembered, and all that kind of stuff, which is very much sort of hanging in the balance nowadays. If something happens to Hiyori, he might be forgotten, he might disappear, all this kind of stuff. Maybe it was Nora who was not so much his regalia as his impetus, his driving force to keep him going. Maybe it was her pushing him forth to be this god of calamity, and it was her manipulating him, something along those lines. But whatever the case, Kazuma seeks him out and pleads with him, just begs with him on his knees, on all fours, please save my master, my goddess Bishamon. She is blighted, they're eating away at her. At this point, all of these regalia, the Ma, sort of family, have become this gigantic roving phantom that are just trying to completely devour Bishamon. And even as she's held within it, even as she's being consumed by it, do we see Bishamon pleading for the Yato god to not kill them, to not murder them. It's a very sort of familial, motherly, maternal aesthetic going on there. She doesn't want her children, her family, to be killed, even if it means sacrificing her own life. And it's heartbreaking, it's heart-wrenching for that, because Yato, he's doing the greater good, but he has to sacrifice so many of these lives. And of course, Nora, is not like a Yuki who would call it into question, as he does in this episode when they're on the attack with fellow regalia and everything. Nora doesn't care. She's just fueling that sort of demonic sort of aspect of the god of calamity, destruction. And I think that also explains and further enhances the idea of why Yato wanted to break free from her. He wanted to be a sort of benevolent god, a god who is actually worshipped and, asked for wishes and prayers and all that kind of stuff, prayed to. He doesn't want to be somebody who just causes destruction and kills innocent lives. And Bishamon can't see that. She's looking at it thoroughly through, here is this god who killed my family. And Kugaha perfectly has this all ripe for exploitation, because, as I say, you have Yato and Yukine going to her realm and just being on the attack, wanting Hiyori back and everything. They don't know what exactly has happened, what's really going on, and it just gets tantamount, of course, with this fight. They finally get to a point, even as I say, as Bishamon is so weakened and Kugaha's like, whoa, and we also see the further manipulations of Aiha just going on the attack against Yato in the previous episode. She has that much more blight coverage all over her. If she's not careful, it's going to be all consuming to her as well. But he's like, if you want to be healed, you're going to do what I tell you. And that's another thing. Before we even get to how this battle culminates, the impetus behind this for Kugaha, they mentioned the word succession, and I'm like, does he really believe he's going to succeed and he's going to sort of take, the throne, if you will, of being the god of war? Like, is that even possible? Can a regalia step up to a throne and become godly? Which is where I thought it was going at first. But then we find, actually, if Bishamon is killed and enough people in the world believe in her and want her to exist, she will exist, she will be reborn. And it's actually Kugaha's sort of impetus to want to be the exemplar to this newborn god, and thus kind of akin to what we're getting the hints of was the relationship between Yato and Nora back in the day. He wants to be the exemplar that controls said god, this newborn Bishamon that would come out of this. He wants to manipulate, control, guide, and be the true wielder of the power, rather than the goddess herself being that power who has regalia as her underlings. And that is like, WTF, where did he come up with this? Like he really thinks he's going to be able to do that. It mystifies me, but with all the success we've seen him wielding thus far and how he's manipulated everyone he saw to the murder of Suzuha after breaking him to the very core, we've seen him manhandling, and not even physically, I just mean emotionally, Aiha, and manipulating her, and all this stuff that he's doing, and he's got cleverly into position Yato and Bishamon, who have this bad blood, this misunderstanding between them about what it all amounted to. They're going to go head to head because he has successfully taken away, he's stolen away from Yato the one thing keeping him going, keeping him alive in this world, keeping him remembered at this stage in the game, and Bishamon, who just hates him and wants him destroyed. Pit them together, now they have reason to fight, and the fight in frickin' ensues in this episode. And it was actually pretty shocking because at one point, as badass as she is, she's like, I guess she's so full of herself and so feeling like, I'm going to be able to take Yato down. It seems like they're almost well matched to a point. But she then starts stripping off her regalia, her like weapons and everything, and we're seeing a couple of her regalia are actually being physically impacted. It takes Yato a little talking Yukine into actually, doing this, because it's not only protecting him, but we got to find Hiyori. Where's she being held captive and all this stuff? This is the woman he believes who took her. And so that's going to get right to the core of both Yato and Yuki and make Yuki want to fight. And it does. And, you have these regalia who are now cast off, waiting for their opportunity as, ordered by Bishamon to try to split Yato and Yukine apart. Yukine being in sword form at this point. And they manage it. And she puts up this, containment barrier to hold Yato within. And just as she summoned her humongous, Buster Sword-looking weapon to take him down, she's going to cut right through that barrier and just, gut Yato. That last second, I literally, my breath caught in my throat, because Yuki jumps right in the way. And we see that sword shattered. We see him in that spirit regalia form split in half. And we literally end with Yato screaming bloody murder. And I'm taken aback. I'm like, did we just see Yuki get killed? Did she just murder Yukine? Is that it for him? And that's what also leads me, I was saying earlier, sort of in preface to that, with Hiyori being in spirit form, if she can't escape in time, she'll be a spirit permanently, and will we find Yato transforming her into Yuki's replacement? I'm utterly shocked. I'm utterly taken aback by where this all went. At the end of this episode, I didn't expect this. I would have assumed this trio of characters, these main three characters, Yato, Hiyori, and Yukine, this story was going to continue on with them as the focus. And at this moment, it's all in question. It's all up in the air. Is that going to be forevermore the case? Are they going to find a way to sort of save Yuki? Is there some power, some otherworldly power that can reunite, now that he's cut in half, his two halves, and save his life? If they can, whether they can or not, is this Yukine being gone as we knew him? If they somehow manage to reattach and rebirth him or something like that, will his personality fade away? Will he still be the same spirit? Will he be something entirely different, akin to what they're talking about with the rebirth of a Bishamon god in the aftermath of the death of this one, if that happens? Damn. Just freaking, whoa. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I'm completely flabbergasted. I'm completely caught off guard by any of it. And I don't know what else to say. It's just, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh God, please let somebody figure out that Kugaha's behind this. Please let them piece together before too much havoc is wrought, before too many innocents are lost in this game, in this brutality game that is, you know, masterminded and has been masterminded, expertly so by Kugaha. Let something be a saving grace here. Nothing came. By the end, it's like Empire Strikes Back, you know, all it seems lost. You know, where is the hope for the future? When we're left off at the end of this episode, and even sort of the PV for the next, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's coming next. You know, just damn. Crazy, crazy stuff. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you were as flabbergasted and if all of this was as unexpected for you as it was for me. If you still managed to enjoy it, if you hate what they did, you know, if you were familiar with the source material, please post no spoilers, but give me at least some hint. Is there hope for these characters? Or is this going to just get darker and that much worse as we go on? But yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys. We can agree to disagree, whatever our POVs happen to be on it. You know, I mean, I was absolutely astounded by it. I'm at the brink of entertainment because I'm so enraptured by these characters and I want to see what happens to them. And like, I can't hate it even as I'm like, I hate what happened. I can't hate it because it really thoroughly rocked my world. It shocked me to my very core how this episode ended. And I can only but guess where we're going next. So yeah, as I say, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Whatever your thoughts on it happen to be, love it or hate it, anything in between, love having the discussion with you guys. And so yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Can't wait for the next episode now, most certainly. And I'll catch you later. Peace.